Hey guys, how are you? I hope you're doing well. I hope you had a nice week. So this week we are going to be working on a landscape with chalk pastels. Now this is it's a drawing of the landscape or the grounds of a place called Olana, and it was built by an artist in the 1800s. His name was Frederic Church, and he was a landscape painter, part of a movement called the Hudson River School, which was based in America. And so he lived in Hudson, and his teacher, Thomas Cole, lived across the Hudson River from him in Catskill. And they were both sort of prominent members of the Hudson River School movement, which was basically a bunch of like landscape painters in the 1800s. Anyway, when Frederic Church finished painting, his next big project was to build this elaborate house and landscape design, and kind of he actually almost used nature as his tool instead of paint, and actually created with plants and with nature. He created a scene that was absolutely gorgeous, the way that most of his paintings were. So anyway, this is a place that I've been to 100 times in my life, and it's one of my favorite places. So I wanted to share it with you. And when I'm done talking, I'll post a picture of him and the house and the landscape, and then we'll get started on our version of that, okay? So you're gonna need your chalk pastels, some tissues, and a pencil and eraser, okay? So we'll get your supplies and we'll get started in just a minute, okay? Thanks. Okay guys, so let's get started on our drawing. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sketch this out real lightly with a pencil. I want you to sketch really as light as you can, okay? I'm going to sketch a little bit darker so that you guys can see better, but I want you guys to sketch as light as you can. I'm going to go just a little above halfway. Like if this is half, I'm going to go just a smidge above that. And I'm going to draw a straight line right across. Okay, now again, I'm going to draw mine darker, but you guys do yours as light as you can. Okay, doesn't have to be perfectly straight, but close to straight line, horizontal line. Okay. And then I'm going to start over here, just a little bit higher. This is going to be like a little bit of a kind of a mountainy area. This can kind of have some ups and downs in it if you want. And then when you get just past halfway, we're going to go up a little bit and just kind of make a mountain shape. Okay. Just have it go higher over here. I have basically like two little hills, two little mountains, like that. And then over here it can be kind of wiggly or whatever. Okay. Then I'm going to do a piece of land over here. It's going to go just about to the center, but not quite. About right here. I'm going to bring this all the way over. And then I'm going to bring this up like that. Okay, and we can erase this line out. Okay. Then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do another one. It's going to go up into our line up here. And then maybe curve down like this a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to erase this line. Okay, then I'm going to do one more, maybe an inch lower than the other one. This one I actually want to go in a little bit more, I think. I'm going to have it go up and overlap. And then, I don't know, just kind of come down like that. Okay, something like that. Okay, let me start with this hill in the front. I'm going to start maybe 1 inch from the bottom and just do like a little hill. It's going to come down and curve like that. Okay, and then I'm going to have a second piece of land that's going to start about right here, and it's going to go over like that. Okay, but now we have a bunch of trees on this land, and actually this land actually goes further than it looks. It kind of is a hill that's going to go down and then have more straight, you know, land at the bottom of the hill. So we're going to have some trees. I'm going to start my tree line about right here. Okay, and then over here, my tree line is going to start up higher. And I'm just kind of going up and down and up and down and up and down until I get over to about right here. And then it's going to come over like that and just stop. Okay. So I want to go ahead and erase all of these lines out of here, out of the shape. Okay, yeah, so that'll be kind of our tree line, and we can modify it a little bit as we go. So this is going to be our foreground, and these are the trees that are the closest to us. In fact, you know what, I might want to make these a little bit higher. Maybe something more like that. It's up to you, you know, as long as you guys like yours, but stand, you know, take a step back and take a good look at it and make sure the proportions of everything seem nice to you and it's something that you like. You know, the shape looks good and everything. Okay. Okay. So this is our grass that we're standing on. This is the row of trees. It's the closest to us. Then this hill is like further down, and these trees are further away. And then we've got these hills in the background. Okay. Okay, and that is basically it for our drawing, the drawing itself. Okay. And now, as you're doing the chalk pastel, if you go over these lines or you decide you want to change your shape, that is perfectly fine. Okay, but this is just kind of a guide to get us started. Okay, so now I'm going to get out my chalk pastels. Let me see. Let's see what I got over here. I'm going to get all of my greens out. All of my blues, my teals, my blue, all of my blues. Actually, I'm going to get my black out, but we're not going to use that until the very, very end. So I'll just set that aside. Oh, I do want to get a purple. You can get a couple different shades of purple if you want. Just going to stick with that one for now. Okay, and then I want to get out my lightest, palest kind of pinky color, pink peachy color, and also maybe a yellow or two. Okay, now we're going to do a new technique this time. Okay, so in my original that I did here, we have this very kind of like pale, soft sky and very pale transition of colors. And so I don't want to actually take the pastel and put it on the paper because I think it would leave too strong of a line, of a mark. So I'm going to do another technique instead. Okay, so I'm going to take my color that I want to use, my kind of pinkish, peachy color, and I want to go on a separate sheet of paper and make a whole bunch of dust. Okay. Then I'm going to take my tissue I'm gonna wad it up, and I'm gonna tap into, trying to get like a flat surface. I'm gonna kind of tap into some of this dust. Okay, and then I'm gonna come over here. I'm gonna start just going back and forth very lightly. I'm hardly touching the paper. I'm touching it as light as I possibly can. Okay. And then I can go up a little bit when it's mostly off. I can rub that in circles too, to make the transition just a little bit smoother. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing with my yellow. I'm going to get a kind of a lighter yellow. And I'm going to take a bit of the dust, just kind of tap it a little bit just to make sure it's all, you know, kind of even. And I'm going to real lightly, you know, maybe go right here, just above where I started with my other color, and then bring that on up. Okay, and I can rub that in circles as well. Okay guys, I just turned my light on because I think I was getting too many shadows. But you know, I want to come back over here because you know, the yellow didn't quite make it all the way to the edge of the paper, so I'm just going to grab a little bit more, and I'm just going to go in circular strokes now, and try to fill this entire top part, you know, the sky area, with a bit of this dust. And like I said, we can start out going left and right because that is the general motion that we want. But then to blend it better, I would do some circles. Okay, maybe I want to bring a tiny bit more of this pink in. Okay, and guys, and remember that your drawing is your drawing. It doesn't need to look exactly like mine, okay? I'm gonna go really light with mine. Maybe you want yours to be brighter or more vibrant, or you want to add different colors in there even. I'm okay with that. Okay, but this is just how I'm choosing to do mine. I'm also going to bring just a smidge of this into my water. Not in the center, but just kind of like off to the sides. I'm going to bring just a smidge of this pink in there. Okay. Now, if you want to, you could also add another color. I'm going to use a little bit of purple. You do not have to do this. If you like yours just how it is, and especially if you're afraid of messing it up, just please, just don't. But I want to try to tone the edges of mine down a little bit. So I'm going to take just a little bit of this purple. See, I'm just getting a little tiny bit. I put some on and I'm rubbing most of it off. I'm going to come over here and as light as I can, so I'm barely even touching the paper. I'm just going to do some circles around the edges. Almost kind of like a triangle, really. And over here too. Like using that top corner and then going down to here and then making kind of like a triangle out like that. Okay. Something like that. And guys, if you press too hard, like I pressed a little bit harder than I wanted to right there, you can get a clean tissue and rub it out. Or you can add more color to make it blend in. You can get an eraser. Actually, let me just show you. An eraser actually will work pretty well on this. I would use light pressure, but it actually does work pretty well on chalk pastel if it's not too dark. Okay. And then you can always just get a new piece of tissue and rub that in a little bit more. Okay, so there's my basic sky. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do my mountains. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with my lightest blue. And I'm just going to go right along the pencil line that I drew. Okay, something like that. So now guys, I'm going to just use my finger, just to kind of rub this in a little bit. If you want to, you could use a Q-tip. A Q-tip is actually a really good thing to use for these small spaces. I just forgot to grab one, to be perfectly honest, before I came down. But if you would like to grab one, you may. Or you can just use your finger and rub this in so that you get rid of the pure white space. Okay, it can be lighter and darker, that's fine, but I just don't want anything that's pure white. Okay, kind of like that. Okay, then I'm going to take my next darker blue, so this one here, and I'm going to do, actually let me do this one, the next section. Okay, and then same with this. You can use a tissue or a Q-tip or your finger. I'm just going to use my finger for right now. My little pinky seems to be working. And you're just trying to press this into all the white spaces. Okay, now I'm going to take my next darker blue and fill in this next shape. Now I drew hard with my pencil to show you guys, so I have kind of this pencil line that's showing up. If you guys have a pencil line that shows up too, just make sure that the pastel gets into that little groove where the pencil was. Okay, you can either get it with the pastel itself or rub it in with your finger. Okay, so here's the shape. I'm going to go along the edge first. Okay. Now I'm going to get my purple, and I'm going to do this last little one over here. And guys, if you have all this extra dust like I do, don't wipe it off. Just blow it off or bring it to the trash can and dump it into the trash can, okay? Okay, so that is the basic version of our hills. Now, if you guys want to later on, you can go back in and add like some more color. You know that I like to use at least 2 or 3 shades of a color. And so, you know, if I were doing this for myself, I would probably go in, you know, get some lighter colors in there and some darker colors as well, just to give it some depth. You can do this now or you can wait until the end. I'm just doing a quick little sample for you. You know, something like that. But anyway, I can do more of that at the end, but I want to get the rest of this with some color on the page. Okay, now I'm going to take my green and I'm going to fill in this tree area. I'm going to do the back one first. Okay, just going to rub that in. Actually, you know, I really do want this to be a little bit more curvy at the top. So maybe a little bit more like that. Okay. And I want this to be a little bit more subdued because it's in the background. So I'm actually going to take like my light blue or a teal or something like that and put that over top of this just to help me subdue the color a little bit. Could also maybe use a little bit of this pinky color if you wanted to, the one that we used on the sky, just to kind of desaturate it a little bit. Saturation is that like how vibrant a color is. It's not like light and dark, you know, because light and dark we're adding white or adding black, but it's kind of like how vibrant the color is. And if you use the color opposite of the color you're using on the color wheel, that will help you to take down the vibrancy. And red is the opposite of green. So whenever you put anything that's kind of reddish over top of something green, it's going to help to take down the vibrancy. Okay, so there's that. Now I'm going to do this section over here. Okay, now let me see if I can get some of these lines out. Yeah, I think it's probably just best when you're rubbing in the color to try to get it in those grooves. I tend to sort of do like a straight motion along the edges, but then do like a circular motion on the inside. Okay, and if you guys end up with a situation like I just did, where that little bit of dust, for whatever reason, refuses to leave, just brush it as lightly as you possibly can. And if it leaves a stain, then you can try to rub it out with a clean tissue. Okay. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna take this sort of muted green that I have. It's kind of like a blue-green, kind of like a teal, I guess, a darker teal. I'm gonna put that down here. And I'm gonna use my light yellow-green up here. And then I'm gonna rub in all those colors. There we go. So I'm basically having the further away colors be lighter and having them become darker as they come towards us. But I also want them to become more, I want the colors to become more realistic and less atmospheric the closer that they get to us. Okay, so now, actually I want to do one last little thing. And then for any of my little kids, you know, if you guys want to cut out about here, I'm okay with that, because you know what, we have a pretty nice little drawing. But let me show you one more thing that I want you to do if you are going to leave now, and then if not, then I will show you guys the rest in a minute. But I want to go along the edges of all of my pieces of land with this darker color. Now back here, this might be a little bit too dark for back here, but I'm just going to use a tiny bit of it. And then what you can do is pull that dust straight down like a reflection in the water. Okay, so there's that one. Let's do this one. Just pull it straight down. And then back here, this isn't gonna go as far because it's way in the distance, so I'm just gonna kind of rub it in a little bit and then maybe just kind of blur it out a smidge, kind of like that. Okay, so for my little ones, if you guys want to be done now, I'm okay with that. For my older kids, stick around and we'll add some more colors and stuff. Okay, I want to add little bits of purple and green into these three little kind of hills that or mountain things, whatever they are, that I have here. In fact, I might even want to put a little bit of that on my back mountain, but I'm not going to do that yet because I want to do that with the dust so that I just get a tiny bit. Remember that as they get closer and closer to us, the more realistic the colors are going to look. So I'm going to try to get a little bit of texture or more realistic looking colors in some of these closer ones. Okay. And again, you can use the tissue or your finger. It's funny, when I did the other one, I only used the tissue. I didn't use my finger at all. But on this one, I'm feeling like using my finger is the way to go. I don't know why. I'm just slightly tapping or blending in the edges of the color. I don't want to rub real hard because I still want them to kind of be distinct, but I just kind of want to blend them just a smidge. So I'm just kind of tapping or rubbing just a tiny, tiny little bit. There, like that. Okay. Ooh, that's a lot darker than I thought it was. Okay. I can rub in a little bit of color on these mountains back here. I think something like that's okay. I'll play around with it though and make it so that you like it. Right now I'm using my kind of yellow-green color. I like the effect that that gives. Okay, now I'm gonna, see, I was gonna reach for a new tissue, but I think this one has enough life left in it. I'm gonna just dab it. Okay, and near the bottom, I might want to just take away a little bit more of the color. It just sort of gives it kind of a foggy look. I didn't mean to do that. Okay, hold on. But I did, so let me go ahead and show you what you do. Get your eraser. And over here, I'm gonna do up and down with my eraser because my lines originally were up and down. Okay, actually, on this area here, I might actually go along the edge first and then do some up and down strokes. Okay, I'll use my clean hand to wipe that off. Okay, I think that's better. Okay, and then if you want to, you could, of course, just redo this a little tiny bit to give it more of that look again. Okay. You could also take like a very light blue and stay away from the center. Like this part right here, but you could add just a couple of little lines. I'm using the corner or the side edge to put a little bit of this in there. Okay, and then our trees over here. I'm gonna use some of this purple now. And I'm gonna make, these are basically half circles, like little U's almost. And I'm gonna do that on the bottom edge over here, and then on the top edge, I'll do more like little rainbows. But I'm not gonna take it all the way to the very, very tip top right here. I'm gonna leave it kind of like that. And then I can just sort of dab that in. Okay, and I would do that with a bunch of different colors. I just use my dark, you know, my purple, but maybe I want to use my dark blue as well. And on these also, you can use the edge, or you can use the flat part to cover a bigger area. I want to get some shadows in these trees. That's what I'm using this blue for. And our most shadowy area is going to be right here, where the trees meet the grass. Okay, so I'm going to make that real nice and strong, and then I'm also going to lay this on its side and just gently pull in a horizontal direction, like that, in this whole section. Okay, in fact, I can add some of that dark blue over here too, where these trees are gonna meet the ground over here. Okay, and then I can just pull this out. Like that. And then on the top part of these, we can add some of this yellowish, the yellow-green. I'm just doing sort of like little commas, left and right commas. And that's only on the tops of these trees. So that's gonna be like this top section right there. Like that. Okay. I would say to just keep going over it with more and more colors until you like how it looks. That's generally what I do. Now I want these to be, again, dark kind of on the bottom part and a little bit lighter on top. But I also want them to be a little bit more subdued than the trees that are going to be over in this section, because that's going to be closer to us. So the colors on that are going to be more accurate. Also, our leaves are going to be bigger. Our trees are going to be bigger. Down here, we just have kind of like a little indication of shapes. Okay, something like that. And then if we want to, we can rub this in a little bit down here. Very lightly pull this dust out. I'm hardly even touching the paper for that part. Now for this part here, where I'm trying to get into the paper real hard, I am pressing, especially where that groove is. And if you guys don't have a groove, that's great. But just in case you do, I want you to know what to do with it. Okay, so something like that. Now over here, I'm gonna go over this with the green again. Okay, and these trees back here are behind this light colored hill, so they're not like sitting on the top of the hill. They are in the background, and this other hill goes in front of them. Okay. So I'm going to add some of my navy blue again. Yep. Down here along the bottom. So this is kind of my U shape for my upside down C shape. And our biggest tree, and our most distinct tree, is going to be this one that's right on this edge here. So I'm just going to get some bigger patches in there. Something like that. And we can also add in some purples. And especially towards the bottom of this section, you want it to be real dark. So we're going to use our blues and our purples to make this really dark down along the bottom. I'm going to wipe that edge clean a little bit. Okay, and then on the tops of these, I can go in again with my light green. I can go in with some straight yellow or some of that pink that we used in the water. I am going to put just a smidge of this pink in here on the tops of those. And maybe just in a few places up here. I won't even put a little bit in this mountain back here. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of tap these colors just to kind of blend them a smidge. In fact, you know what, I'm going to use some purple down here as well in my shadow by these trees. Still not quite as dark as I would like it to be. more like that. Okay, that looks pretty decent. Okay, I'm gonna go in now with one of my blue fingers here and just kind of put a little bit of dark on the very edge of this lighter color that we have here. If you don't happen to have any blue fingers, you can you know, take your pastel and put it on there, or you could also do some of the dust like we did before, you know, and then pick that up with your tissue. Or you can pick it up with your finger, actually. Like this. And just add a little bit of that on this back edge. Okay. And that, guys, is basically the drawing. You could always go back in and add more detail or more colors. You know, I kind of feel like I love how this looks, but I kind of feel like maybe I want to have a little bit more pink in there. You know, and you guys do whatever you think that your drawing needs. If I were to do this, I want to switch hands for a second here. I would probably take a little tiny bit of this pink and maybe get just a bit of that in here as well, but very, very lightly. And again, make sure that this very center stays open. Stays nice and white. Okay. You know, maybe I want to add a tiny bit more pink in my sky. I could go in and brighten that up a little bit right there. In fact, I could bring some of that down too if I wanted. But basically, something like that. So I want you guys to keep on playing around until yours is exactly how you want it to look. Anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed this assignment. This is one of my favorite places on earth. And I hope that you guys have enjoyed working on it as much as I have. And you guys ever get to upstate New York, go and check out Olana. It's absolutely beautiful. You will not regret it. Okay, guys. Well, I hope that you enjoyed that. And thank you so much for working with me this year. I really enjoyed doing these videos with you guys and seeing how much you've improved over the year and how much fun I think you had doing these assignments. They really looked great and I really enjoyed this time. So this is our last class for the spring session, and I'm going to take a little bit of a break and then we'll come back together in the summertime, okay? So I hope that you guys have a great couple months, and I'll see you guys soon, okay? Take care.